Hello, good evening. It's 9 o'clock. Welcome to this English news edition. Tonight, as the headlines, we have the head of state visit the U.S. Harry Truman aircraft carrier. U.S. and Cuba reach understanding on flights.
Those were the top stories, and thank you for joining us. The President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, has been interviewed yesterday by the international channel of BBC. Several issues have been raised during this interview of the head of state as the summary of its policy since his appointment to the supreme magistrate of the country, the presence of foreign forces stationed in Djibouti, and the role of Djibouti on the efforts of peace and regional security. The President Guelleh has for his part responded to all these questions in a quick and clear way. Let's hear it from the President of the Republic.
Je pense que nous sommes partis d'une Djibouti qui avait eu des problèmes de guerre civile.
I think that we have started from a country who had a civil war issues injured by an intern conflict. The economy of the country remained weak, so I have applied myself to reestablish the national unity by making peace with our fellow countrymen and to rise up the growth. We have opened new schools and we have created the first university of the country. We have created employments and concentrated ourselves on the health sector and particularly on the economic development and basic infrastructures. I think that we have to strengthen our economy by walking into the path of democracy. We started at the very beginning from a unique party, and today we arrived at having multiple parties and coalition, of course. We have an opposition into the parliament. We can clearly see that Djibouti is indeed on the move. The constitution is crystal clear. Every party, each coalition has the right to publish its own journal. But there are measures that need to be taken at the very beginning in a certain circumstances for security reasons.
The head of state, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, has brought to light the major achievement he accomplished in terms of development, social sector, and maintaining peace and stability, and what here is priorities. Let's listen to these more details.
أنا مدحونا وقتيغاغا وان كاغا مدعلينايا سؤاشا ugu horan ku weydiinaya waxa weeyaan muddo 16 sano dalkan Djibouti xukumaysay maxaad maanta ku faani kartaa oo isleedahay Djibouti waad gaarsiisay.
In an interview with the BBC Somali service, the President Ismail Omar Guelleh discussed many issues, including the review of his 16 years at the head of state and the impact of the disorder situation the sub-region in Djibouti. Djibouti at first said it was during this period focused significant effort for the strengthening of the state on base, the strengthening of national unity, as well as economic achievement to meet the legitimate aspirations of the people of Djibouti. All these efforts have made to date in Djibouti a respected country and requested by African, Arab and Muslims to resolve the many problems or conflicts. The head of state added that these efforts have failed to Djibouti out of any difficulties due to the underdevelopment, but he said the people of Djibouti gained confidence in him and remained convinced that life achievements made until the date guide to progress. President Guelleh, on the other hand, has recognized the error committed by the past existence, which resulted acts harmful to some people that I had too much confidence. President Guelleh also stressed the importance of the impact on Djibouti, the situation in the region under Cloudy refuted. The head of state said that he is among his duty to help his country has to guard the repercussions of such situation. Answering to a question about the allegation of the opposition according to which democracy is not effective in the country, President Guelleh has focused on the behavior of the Djiboutian opposition. He said that it is about the role of the opposition to criticize the management of the thing comply with the basic rule of the exercise of democracy. But the Djibouti opposition, he continued, has deliberately avoided this role, which is his own and preferred laud and deny to the existence of the state of Djibouti. The development of democracy needs responsible and conscious adversary. Supreme interest of the country is due to the fact that our opponents are deprived of any opponent culture. The head of state has made clear Djibouti there are no political prisoners and people concerned for their opinion. In holding a full political life in democratic development, the Djibouti people and their leaders share their determination to jealously preserve peace and stability, all the necessary socio-economic development. Peace, he said, is and will remain our wealth. The president also questioned that investors would be attracted by the unrest and instability. The leader of state reiterated that from the moment the people of Djibouti entrusted its destiny, it follows from the duty that trust is mine, namely, ensure the peace within the country and make the efforts needed to meet the legitimate aspiration of Djibouti and Djibouti.
The head of state has underlined the main reasons of foreign forces present in the country and the very fact the Republic of Djibouti has taken the leadership in this part of East Africa to contribute massively to the fight against terrorism and piracy. Let's listen to the head of state.
Djibouti waxay xarun u tahay military fara badan oo shisheeye ah oo dabcan dee lacagna ku bixiyo waxayna ku taalaa mandaqad.
Bringing to light the result of the foreign forces presence in Djibouti, the head of state has underlined that the amount perceived is less than 10% of the national budget. The president has also indicated that if the Republic of Djibouti has accepted their presence on its soil, it is before for the unique reason of contributing to the relentless efforts of combating terrorism and piracy. Such conviction has allowed our country to enjoy as being one of the countries who contributor has these efforts of the international community. Then, speaking of the situation in Somalia and the existence of the Islamic movement, the president has quoted an example, the taking of power of the Taliban in Afghanistan. This has caused the military interventions of many countries, including two of the West, which were unable to overcome the fundamentalist movement. Somalia, unfortunately, has this same similarity, and it should be recalled that the means implemented to combat the Taliban were much more important than those in which has no presence in Somalia. The head of state has indicated unequivocally that the Somali government does not have the means he should have. Only the non-governmental organizations and humanitarians come to rescue the victims of this fratricide war.
The President of the Republic has visited this morning the American aircraft carrier Harry Truman, who is located 1 hour from Djibouti in front of Yemeni island. This island of Yemen has a strategic position on the Bab el-Mandeb, which is important maritime axis for the world trade. The aircraft door Harry Truman houses in permanence 5,000 Marines and 70 combat aircraft. The overfly the region of the objective of stabilizing the pacification. It is accompanied and escorted by 5 ships of war of a bomber tanker. This visit comes in the framework of strengthening and following the military cooperation between Djibouti and the United States. The President came along with the head of the national security and a few senior officials.
In the framework of the policy of the national recognition initiated by the head of state, His Excellency Ismail Margele, the Prime Minister, His Excellency Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, has decorated this morning 11 managers in the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports. In this case, they are Wahib Hamad Muhammad, Umar Gedi Ali, Abdiso Usman, Yusuf Ahmed Ibrahim, Muhammad Farah Ibrahim, Muhammad Ahmed Salem, Abdul Rashid Yusuf Abdidan, Hassan Mahmoud, Muhammad Khadra Hassan Almi, Naima Abdi Ali, Modis Larry. These frameworks have been elevated to the rank of Knights of the National Order 27 June for their loyal services within the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports. These 11 winners have served more than 20 years and have in their own way served our motherland.
The Secretary of State of Housing held a meeting in the conference room of his department. The purpose of this meeting is bearing the difficulties faced by the recurring very well most on the enterprises. The government decided to organize their activity in order to sustain their existence, improving the quality of service which they offer. Furthermore, the Secretary of the State of Housing, Miss Amina Abdi, and was present, as well as the Budget Minister Ahmed Roble and Secretary of State for Solidarity Zahra Yusuf Khayat. The participants have received certificates at the end of the meeting. The contractor owner of a small unit with the sales of less than 5 million Djibouti franc and young graduates have requested a certificate of a qualification in their sector of activity.
As part of the planning of weekly working meetings with the chief medical officers of community health centers in Djibouti City, the Health Minister Dr. Qasim Issa Osman today chaired a follow-up meeting of health centers operating in the hall of the ministry. Where present at the meeting, the new Director of Health Regions Asobe, Mr. Abdullahi Asobe, and the new Director of Pharmacies and Drugs, Dr. Salah, doctors and heads of 13 health centers. The objective of the meeting was the reorganization of drug management of community pharmacies in health centers to avoid stockouts, as well to have better coordination with central departments in clinical areas of management and to involve the community in the organization of health centers and the facilitating contact with the population. The Minister of Health, Dr. Qasim Issa Osman, reaffirmed that regular and constant monitoring will be done by the central level to support the managers.
A seminar on the development of the safety of road construction works has been closed this morning at Hotel Sheraton in the presence of the Director of the Djibouti Road Agency, Mr. Mahmoud Musa Ahmed, and the General Director of International Agency for Corporation Japanese. The seminar lasted for 2 days, has been organized by the International Corporation Agency of Japan, JICA, and was animated by Koji Musada, Road Station Chief Engineer and the Structure of Economic and Social Infrastructure. It had for the aim to educate the Djiboutian agent on the development of construction work safety. For this occasion, the Director General of the Djiboutian Road Agency, Mahmoud Musa Ahmed, stressed the importance of this seminar for his agency and warmly thanked the International Agency for Japanese Corporation, which named JICA, and the Japanese government for their tireless support.
Still in the framework of the Universal Health Insurance, it offers you this evening a large angle on the Regional Hospital of Arte region, a structure based on since a year ago to the National Social Security Fund to expand the medical supply, in other words, with the sickness insurance benefits of complete care ranging from the consultation to the surgical operations as well as hospitalizations. To do so, the CNSS agency manager of the AMU has invested in equipping the hospital of Arta with medical equipment of high technology to make this hospital a medical point of reference. Let's watch this report.
Still in the framework of the Universal Health Insurance, today we broadcast a wide angle on the Artas Regional Hospital, a structure receded in about a year now to the National Social Security Fund to expand her medical supplies and expertise. With the benefits of the healthcare insurance ranging from consultation to surgical operation as well as hospitalization, this has given an opportunity to heal any disease freely. The National Social Security Fund with the AMU have invested and equipped the hospital of Arta with the latest technology in order to make this hospital a pole of reference. The final preparation before an operation eliminating a cancer of the bladder without opening the body of the patient, an intervention called cystoscopy. It has been made possible with these new medical equipment the CNSS has acquired, and plus the professionalism of the medical team composed of an anesthetist and a urologist, Dr. Hassan Abdurrahman, who has made his studies at Val de Grace in France. A couple of years ago, this intervention would not have been possible due to the lack of medical equipment and technology, but this is the first time that it has been done in Djibouti, thanks to the CNSS and the director who have made possible in Djibouti. In the operation room, not a scalpel, nor a blade or a scissor, as for a traditional surgery. In turn, a column of endoscopy attached to a cable, a kind of a pistol with a tube fitted with a tiny camera and a prop that are introduced in the genital organ of the patient. Then begin the intervention of eliminating the cancer. The tumor looked like a cauliflower, damaged, as you see on these images. No need also a pocket of bloods, just a solute to clean the tumor once beaten. This operation lasts 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Ça s'est très bien passé.
The surgery has been a success. It was a large tumor of 6 centimeters that has been taken off. The lesion is gone. It is really a success with this technology. 3 days after the operation, on Monday, we returned to the hospital to see the state of the patient. This patient is 60 years old and he's doing great, though he's just endured an operation less than 72 hours. I don't feel any pains. I'm very well and thank God. I have walked through the city this morning on foot and my urine is clean now. At the end of the interview, the patient repacks his affairs and returns home. With the endoscopy column, we can also handle backtrack endoscopic of pathology that affect the prostate and the urethra lesion. For this type of operation, people used to go to other countries to be operated. With this new technology, the Hospital of Arta is entering in a new age in the history of health. As large as 6 football field, this structure has the capacity of 128 beds. The basic care as consultation but also specialized ones and material of powerful diagnostic are delivered here, explains the chief physician of the hospital. The Hospital of Arta has for vocation therefore to impose as a pole specialized medical with surgical intervention of the last generation with men and modern equipment techniques.
The Organization of the United Nations for the Food and Agriculture Organization, in collaboration with the Director of the Studies and the Demographic Studies of the Office and Commissioner in charge of Statistics, Plan, and Director of the Livestock and Veterinary Service of the Ministry of Agriculture, have organized today in the Acacia Hotel a meeting of strategic reform and advocacy of the outcomes of the project entitled Methodology for the National Census of Livestock in the Republic of Djibouti. The objective of this technical cooperation program is to develop an appropriate methodology for the census of the national herd in the Republic of Djibouti. The proposed methodology is to use an air notice in order to target more precisely the households by the system of the geographical position. These provide a photographic indication of livestock farms, and finally use a mobile team to collect the information the reality of the ground through a specific survey, all practice of animal production, the type of farming, and the quality of the cattle will be a map using the photograph. The NCOA will contribute to the increase of the availability of the agricultural statistic data, the adapting and data on the national workforces and the livestock, and will also help the better identify the contribution on the sector the national economic. Still on the national news, the director of the Environment Department of Housing and the Environment, Mr. Hussein Riraj Roble, has shared yesterday at the People's Palace the ceremony of closing the workshop on the environmental education intended for the Arab-speaking and a teacher of private schools. In the presence of the technical advisor of Ministry of Housing and the Environment, Mr. Aden Hassan Elmi, regional coordinator of education program and environmental communication of the regional organization for the conservation of environment, the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, as well as the Secretary General of Association of Arab Schools in Djibouti, Mr. Ahmed Noor. At the end of this ceremony, the participants receive certificates from the Director of the Environment Department of the Technical Advisor, as well as the Regional Coordinator of the Outreach Program. This seminar has started last Monday, December 14, 2015.
Thereafter, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed Mohammed from the Union of National Djiboutian Women, who was one of the participants of this workshop, has gave us her reaction by expressing very delighted to take part in this seminar organized by the Ministry of Environment. Mrs. Zainab Ahmed Mohammed has indicated that it was beneficial and was an opportunity to have a knowledge on how to keep our environment clean. We assure you, she said, to pass on what we have learned to our students. As teachers, we have to put the cleanliness at the top of our priorities and teach our students and children in keeping a clean environment, not to waste water or throw garbage in the streets. We have also learned how to teach them to cultivate, all in the purpose to have a better health and be a good citizen.
Late in the afternoon on Tuesday, December 15, the Colonel Zakaria Hassan Aden, Chief of Staff of the National Gendarmerie, has received a large delegation of Italian Carabinieri led by the General of Army Corps, Mr. Gillian. Colonel Zakaria Hassan Aden, Chief of Staff of the National Gendarmerie, and its House have extensively discussed the cooperation relation between the two institutions and the imminent signing of a license proof of the excellent relation in Aben with the friendship and brotherly. The Army Corps of General Gillian wishes to express the will of the High Command of the Carabinieri to perpetuate the existing collaboration between the two institutions. The signing of a protocol will strengthen the realize the strong links between the Djiboutian Gendarmerie and the Italian Carabinieri. General Vinicius Gillian thanked the Colonel Zakaria Hassan Aden, Chief of the Special welcome that has been received for the delegation. The end of the visit was marked by the exchange of a symbolic gift between the two parties.
In the course of December 14, Loon Society has been the victim of a theft of money, and the matter has been brought to the Brigade of the North to file a complaint on the case, which the suspect will have cashed unduly a sum of 3,382,098 francs Djibouti. Instantly, the gendarmes have proceeded to the search of the suspect, and they have arrested him on the same day in a house in the neighborhood 7 Peace, where he was hiding. The gendarmes have found and discovered the entire amount concealed in a cabinet. As well, the gendarmes have put the hand on the sum corresponding exactly to the same amount. The perpetrator was brought to the justice to answer for his acts. In the regionals, Ethiopia and Australia have observed the 50th anniversary of commencement of diplomatic relations. The event was marked with planting of tree seedlings at the Gulele Botanic Garden. Australian Ambassador to Ethiopia Mark Saures on the occasion said the half-century in diplomatic relations between the two nations should entertain a strong relation in the trade and investment sector. According to the ambassador, the relation should expand to people and institutional level as well as business sector.
And now on the international level, the United States and Cuba have reached an understanding on resuming regular commercial flight between the two countries. A named official in Cuba and the U.S. said an announcement was imminent. It is unclear when the flight will start because negotiation between the Cuban government and the U.S. airlines will take a moment. Let's listen to these more details.
The United States and Cuba officials said they have made an important headway in a months-long effort to restore scheduled flight services. After half a century of confrontation, Cuba's Director of U.S. Affairs Josefina Vidal told that a preliminary agreement is close. They have made important advance in negotiating a memorandum of understanding on establishing regular flights between Cuba and the United States, and shortly they will be ready to announce an agreement on this issue, she said. The diplomatic advance would help open the way for U.S. airlines to begin flying to Cuba within months. The move would likely be the biggest step toward tightened economic ties since the two countries began normalizing relations last year. Currently, Americans and Cuban travelers must fly on charter flights that are expensive and difficult to book. Travelers must buy paper tickets in Cuba or email documents and payment information back and forth with an agent in the U.S. Last week, the two sides announced direct mail service would restart.
This is it for this edition. Thank you for your attention. The program still continuing on RTD, and have a wonderful evening.